Hi, and welcome to Talks with Shay. So, today I would like to begin with reading from Micah chapter 7 and verse 8. And it says, Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. So, for part 3 of New Beginnings, I would like to talk to you about accept failure. Accept failure. So, you're probably thinking, Shay, what are you talking about? Who wants to accept failure? Who wants to accept all the mistakes that they've made? Guess what? If you want brighter days ahead of you, that is something you have to acknowledge. There's only one perfect person that walked this earth, and his name was Jesus Christ. And we are not him. We have to get to a place and realize that in our failures, God can turn so many things around for us. You know, I one time preached a message called There's Power in Getting Up, because there is. Our failure does not have to dictate to us where things are not going to go. But we need to allow our failures to strengthen us and show us where we can go. Just because we failed at something doesn't mean we're a failure. You know, we have to realize that we're going to make decisions, right ones and wrong ones. And it is what it is. And I know a lot of times some decisions we make that are failure are mistakes that cost us things that we wish it didn't cost us, certain consequences that come with those decisions that we've made. But the beauty about it is we learn from them. The problem is when we don't learn from them. You know, when we don't learn from them is when we just keep repeating the same old cycle in our lives. And this month is about new beginnings. So if you want new beginnings to take place in your life, it starts with accepting the failures that you've made and that you've had, and realize that you're going to move forward and look for greater days yet ahead of you. Just because we fail at something doesn't mean that it won't work out. You know, sometimes it's all about timing. God's timing, not our timing. You know, I remember thinking back to when I wanted to go and get my master's degree. The first time I went back to school at Nichols in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and I went back and I was a year and a half in. And I can remember God gave me so much favor with so many teachers. And I thought, wow. So one of them that God gave me favor with, we was really had a good relationship. And we had to take a test online for whatever reason this one time. For some odd reason, she didn't receive my test. I literally took my laptop to her office, showed her the email that I sent it to her. She saw the time and the date, and it was before the time allowed for us to be able to take the test. She refused to accept my test. Broke my little heart. So I got a 0 out of whatever it was. I think it was maybe out of 100 or 50, something like that. But it was a high number, and I was crushed. And I left her office crying my eyeballs out because the proof was in her face. And as I got in my car and I was driving home and the tears streaming down my face, I just started praying to God, because I was like, God, I don't understand this, you know? And I'm thinking, I'm a year and a half in this program. I was working on my master's in family and marriage counseling. And so I'm driving home and I'm getting on the interstate crying, and it's like God spoke so clear to me and said, you're already a counselor. And I thought, what? So I'm like, how? You know? And so I'm kind of brushed it off or whatever. Long story short, go to church this Sunday in Sunday school class, and we played like a little icebreaker game or whatever. And the teacher gave a book away to the winner who won. Well, I won. Okay? The title of the book was Christian Counseling. And I thought, wow, okay, God, I see you. In that same week, within not even that week, a few days time frame from then, I had like three or four different people called me for counseling. Two of them were married couples and two were single women. And I thought, wow, it couldn't get more clear than that. So I went that Wednesday or Thursday and I withdrew from school. And then years later, I thought, well, maybe the timing was off. I remember a friend of mine even saying that sometimes timing with God is everything. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to try it again. Well, Nichols didn't have that program anymore. So I was like, oh, I'd have to do it online. And I'm like, I'm an in-person person. As y'all see, I do talks with Shay. I like to talk. I like the interaction. Raise my hand, teacher, answer. I ain't trying to email the person and got to wait forever for them to respond. But I was like, I'm going to try it and see. Day one, anxiety. And I don't struggle with that. And I'm sitting there, heart pounding, sweating, like just feeling anxious. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Withdrew. All that to say, I felt like I failed because I couldn't do what I always wanted to do, which was counsel people. And I thought, man, like I felt like a failure. But you know what? It wasn't that I failed. It was that it didn't line up with God's will for my life. So sometimes when things don't work out the way that you think they're supposed to work, sometimes it's all about Him and the way He wants it to work. And sometimes it's timing. Now, that was his second time telling me no school. I'm not going back a third time and get some more money from Sally Mae, okay? Them student loans is the devil. So I'm not trying again. But my point is, it made me feel like a failure, because I was like, I can't do this. How do you bounce back from a 0 out of 100 when you have a B in the class? Like, how do you do that, And so I'm just saying, for someone today, just because things don't work out doesn't mean you're a failure, and it doesn't mean that you failed. Sometimes it's all about God's will for your life. And I know for me speaking, that's what I pray, for God's will to be done in my life. And His will, obviously, was not for me to go back to school to work on my master's. So sometimes we have to realize we can't always force the hand of God when we're praying for the will of God. Now, you have some people, they're going to push and push and push because they want it so bad, and God will put red lights to stop. And as you keep pushing and keep pushing, He's going to say, well, go ahead. You want it that bad, you can have it. But you know what? That's not how I want to be. In my failure, I want to get up and fight, but learn through it. And I had to learn that, you know what, Shalonda? Instead of going back to school those 2 times, you should have prayed about it first. Earnestly sought the Lord and waited for His answer, because He would have shown me. And instead, now Sally made more money. But it is what it is. But I learned through that. I failed and I pushed and God stopped, and I kept pushing and God kept stopping until the last time I said, okay, God, it doesn't get more clear than this. We have to realize that no matter what we fail at in life, that doesn't determine who we are in our future. I want to share a little bit with you this devotion that I read right quick, and it's concerning dealing with failures. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for the sake of time, but it was saying that there was a founder of the Boy Scouts in England, and he was preparing honey for a show, and the honey got overheated. And so, if you think about overheating, overcooking honey, it becomes very dark. And when you burn something, you know how it tastes nasty, smell nasty. Well, instead, he didn't do that. What he did was, instead of throwing the honey out, he decided to show the honey anyway. And as a result, dark chocolate became popular and a new taste in England. You just never know. through your failures, what God can do. Then when I think it also says some great discoveries in this world came about an accidental invention. A chemist discovered Teflon after an experiment went wrong. Super glue ended up becoming out of that. Out of super glue was a substance stumbled upon by accident by this scientist, hoping to create a new precision gun sight. So that's how super glue came, from an accident. A scientist that made an accident trying to do one thing ended up with something else, and now we have super glue. From an accident and a failure attempt of what a scientist tried to do. The last thing, it says Play-Doh was designed to be a cleaning product for dirty wallpaper. You know, and now look at all the Play-Doh that children play with. I love Play-Doh when I play with children. But my point is, those three stories have something in common. Each one started off with a failed attempt of something. So if you never attempt to do something and we can't be afraid to fail. Attempt to do it, and if you fail, you just never know what God can bring out of that failure. God has a plan. So accept your failure. Don't let your failure hold you back and dictate to you what lies ahead for your future. You know, something else that was written in that devotion that was really beautiful to me. It says, every man makes mistakes. They say a man who never makes mistakes never made anything else. So we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail. But it doesn't mean we're a failure. So accept your failure today, whatever it might be, and realize, you know what? I'm going to get up. I'm going to press harder. I'm going to seek God and see what the Lord would have me to do. And if it's something that he's impressing you to do, you just keep on going. You know, when we think of Calvary, nothing was easy about Calvary. But he saw fit to die for all of our sins that we can have life eternity with him. And I'm thankful today. As I sit before you today, I'm thankful for every failure that I've had, because it has brought so many victories into other areas of my life. And I thank God for that. I have to learn that no matter what mistake I made in my past, it will never determine my future. We are who we are. Mistakes will come. Failures will come. But we have to rise above it and realize that when I fall, I will arise. Well, I hope that something I said today helped you and encouraged you to realize that it's okay to fall. It's in the getting up that matters the most. So before I go, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, check out my website at www.talkswithshay.org. You can subscribe to my videos on YouTube and find me on Facebook under Talks with Shay. Like my page, share my page, invite your friends to like my page. And until next time with Talks with Shay, Shay is out. Y'all be blessed.